Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Beach Coaches Show. Today, we've got a special guest with us. We've got Mike Campbell from Long Beach State Beach Volleyball Team. Coach Campbell, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Camden. Pleasure to be here.
Coach, why don't you, your season was cut short, so why don't you kind of tell us what was going on up to that point, how the team was faring, and then what you guys are up to now.
Yeah, sure. We played probably our 11th match, and the team was doing well, 7-4, very strong record to start the year. We had a lot of tough competition to open the year. 2/3 of our season happens in March. It's a very short season. We stack March with a ton of matches, and so we were really excited to kind of enter that big chunk of it, where we would have played, I think, 12 duels in the next 2 weeks. When at the time we were told by administration and NC2A and conference that the season was being postponed and then later canceled. But the team was looking great. There was a lot of uncertainty this year, and what I mean by that is we had some players that had never played at certain levels. So beach volleyball is very similar to tennis, where you've got 5 pairs. You got to win 3 of 5 pairs. And so we had a lot of players that historically had played low, 3, 4, 5, and then this year they were playing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And so it was nice to see. We got a really big upset against the top 10 team in Pepperdine. We had 2 battles that we had in our hands, and we kind of gave them away against South Carolina and Stetson, 2 East Coast teams, and we lost those duels 3-2. And we had chances in both. So it was a really short window for the kids because they learned a lot. And so I was really excited for the rest of the season to see what they would have done with that maturity and that experience. So it was, like I said, we were trending upward, but with everything that happened, we are a little bit uncertain on where it would have ended up.
So, Coach, you mentioned there that you gained some maturity and that you learned a lot this year. Who do you have coming back next year that you'll be able to capitalize on that maturity with?
Yeah, sure. So we're lucky enough to bring back Tyler Spriggs. She's one of our pivotal players on the team. Last year, this is actually, I guess if you count this year, this was her 2nd year ever playing beach volleyball. So next year will be her 3rd. And she was a transfer from Arizona, played indoor for Long Beach for 2 years. Her 4th year she played beach, and we kind of experimented, weren't really sure where she'd land. She's a great athlete, great ball control volleyball player, very high IQ, smart player. And so we took all those qualities and just kind of built a system around her and gave her some framework. And then this year she was doing great at our 1s. So she moved from the 5s 2 years ago to the 1s this year, which is a huge jump. It's just completely different games being played at those 2 levels. And so we're really excited. And then she ended up going 7-1 this year to start the year, which was huge. Had 3 top 10 wins against other ranked teams. And then we're going to use the eligibility waiver year on her. And she's willing to come back and extend her undergrad degree and graduate next spring. So we're really lucky that we get to have her back. She was our only senior, but we have 2 other grad students that came in spring this year. So they also had a very shortened window, but they'll get all of fall next year with us, hopefully, to prepare for their final spring. So we will have a lot of maturity that we'll lean on. 3 big-time seniors that'll hopefully have a big-time role. And I'm excited to see how they blossom and become great leaders and ambassadors of the program.
So, Coach, not very many teams make the NCAA tournament from beach volleyball. Can you explain how that works and how many teams there are now as the sport continues to explode in the college level?
Yeah, so NCAA beach volleyball is one of the fastest growing NCAA sports. So as of 3 or 4 years ago, there was less than 75 programs, and now there's tons. There's over 150. So we see them popping up. There's D1, D2. There's community college teams. It's really sprouting up all over the country. NCAA tournament, it's cutthroat. You get 8 teams. 6 of those teams are selected based off of selection criteria, win-loss records, strength of schedule, very similar to other collegiate sports like NCAA football or NCAA men's basketball. It doesn't strictly go off a ranking system, but there are several 4 or 5 criteria that come into play. Now, if you do not get selected as those 6, then there's 2 at-large bids that are given out, and those are also selected off similar criteria, a little bit different in the sense that they factor in who you've played and then who your opponents have played. So it becomes a very slightly confusing, but important for coaches to know it, because then you have to schedule accordingly. Losing to a top 10 team sometimes is more beneficial than winning against a 50th ranked team. So it is beneficial for us, where we're located in Long Beach, to be able to play some of the top teams in the Big West Conference. We have 3 of the top 10 teams, so there's a lot of competition. It's nice. There are no automatic qualifiers to get into the NCAA tournament. That is something that's being discussed, but it has not been finalized. Typically, if you do win our conference tournament, historically, we've seen that team go on and make the tournament. And then every other year, we see 2 or 3 teams come from our conference. So we're in a great spot. It's a great conference. It is a small field, only having 8 teams, but usually, it makes it a little bit. It allows you as a coach to really develop a more resilient team, knowing that, okay, here's the criteria. Don't hope and wish and rely on luck. You got to go earn a spot. You got to go beat teams. You got to get those wins. And those signature wins are what will propel you into that conversation. And then once you're in the conversation, you got to maintain it. And that's the hardest thing, right? It's easy to get that one upset win, but then to continue. And that's something we've been able to do is for all 8 years we've been a program here, we've always been in the top 25. We've made it. We won an ABCA championship prior to the NCAA recognizing the sport in 2013. But since then, we've been to the NCAA tournament twice, and then we took second in my first year in 2015. So we're a really strong program in the sense that we have players that have come through and left a legacy, and we're excited to see what the future holds, and some of our recruits will hopefully uphold that. And we've got a great alumni, Misty May, who she played obviously indoor. Beach volleyball was not a sport then, but her presence is always felt, and these kids idolize her. And so it's nice to have such a strong alumni who's present and can impart some of her wisdom onto these young athletes that we have, and it helps their dreams come true.
So, Coach, you mentioned Misty May. You've also got another beach volleyball player that plays on the men's side. Now, the NCAA doesn't feature men's volleyball, doesn't sponsor men's volleyball, but you've also got Taylor Crabb, who was AVP Player of the Year last year. Do you bring him into the equation too with your girls?
We haven't had a chance to talk with him in person. These Zoom meetings have been, we've been obviously quarantined, so these Zoom meetings that we've been doing have been great for the team, because we have brought in current young athletes on the women's side. I haven't had a chance to bring in Taylor. He's a good friend of mine. We just kind of ran out of time. It wasn't really in the programming, but what we do use is we watch a ton of his film. And so we've watched film of him playing in a number of matches, AVP, FIVB, which is the international tour, which is a little bit different style. He's had a ton of success on the AVP, and so there's lots of film of him. So we build a lot of our defensive systems off of what he's doing. He's obviously one of the experts when it comes to current training methods for defense, and so the way he's working out there and some of the things he does are really unique. So we try to emulate that as best we can. Some of the players really enjoy his style of play as well. So it's nice to have him in that Long Beach family. And I do hope in the future to definitely incorporate him as I get to know him a little bit better, and as the team becomes more familiar. I don't want to just throw a name there. I want them to really study and analyze him, and then they can ask him the right questions, as opposed to just being, dreamy-eyed. He's a good-looking guy,
Coach, can you tell us about the advantage of being in the home of beach volleyball? It was born in Southern California. What kind of advantage does that give you amongst other schools in the country in terms of recruiting and just the popularity of the sport in the area?
Yeah, so I think a big thing is our recruiting is Long Beach State being such an affordable school for in-state student athletes. We've really been able to tap into the local talent, both in Long Beach, down south in San Diego. A big percentage of our team comes from there, and our recruits moving forward. Even up the coast, we have two of our players, younger players, are from Northern California. So we have a handful of players that have been playing this sport, even if they played indoor because it was a club sport and that got them the team aspect. they've been playing beach volleyball since they were babies, since they were young children, getting to watch the sport and then go out there and play it. So it really adds a layer of mental confidence that for me as a coach, I don't have to spend so much time teaching the X's and O's, and I'm able to get into more of the strategical, cerebral part of the game, because that becomes, in competition against the top 10 team, that's almost the most important thing, is the chess game you're playing. So it allows us to really start that type of learning when these kids come in as freshmen. And so that just, like I said, from a recruiting standpoint, that's given us a huge advantage. I think that we've been able to lead and stay at the front of the curve because of that. But like I said, it is the fastest growing sport. So we're starting to see some phenomenal kids come out of other states: Texas, Arizona, East Coast. Florida has always been very strong. Georgia's got a little hot spot right now. There's a really good club there that's going really strong, that we're looking at some of those players down the road. And so it's a really unique location in the sense that it is so popular. And like I said, with the summer, the AVP tour, and 4 of those stops being Huntington Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, and staying kind of on the West Coast, it allows these kids to go out and see what the best in the world are doing, or the best in the US are doing. And then they get really excited, and then they get to go out and try to copy it and emulate what they're doing. And then if they're lucky enough and they qualify, then they're able to even play against some of these players. So it is a really unique opportunity and unique location for us, that we have so many players that are from California. And then a lot of our players choose to stay here over summer under normal circumstances, and they get to compete and train and play down in Huntington Beach, where there's a nice hotbed of beach volleyball players.
Coach, you mentioned that a lot of your girls come from indoor. Is there a learning curve from players that have played indoor? What are the subtle differences of the sport for those of us who didn't play?
Yeah, so a lot of the younger players we see start out with indoor just because the club scene is really organized. There's a lot more structure there. So parents are able to stick their kids in this sport at 12, even 10, 11, 12 years old, and then they can play for 6 years until they're seniors. So we typically see the transition about high school. That's when those younger athletes tend to switch from indoor to beach, and that's when they'll start specializing. We are fortunate because Joy and Matt on the indoor side with the indoor program, they allow combination athletes. So we take a number of players that are currently on the indoor team, and then they'll try out for the beach team, and we will get them half of the year. Now, some players will graduate, and then we'll get them, if they graduate in 3.5 years, then we'll get them for their senior spring semester. And then if they are able to get into grad school, then they'll stay a 5th year and be a grad student. So there's a big advantage for us because those coaches are so flexible with me, and vice versa. And so we're able to share athletes. And I do think the sports, they differ, but you're playing volleyball. At the end of the day, everyone passes sets and hits. There's just less players on the beach. It's a lot more exciting for certain indoor players. Let's say their role indoor is a little bit smaller. Well, when they come to the beach, it's partners. So you're always involved. Whereas indoor, there's 6 of you. If you could go a whole time around 6 rotations and never touch the ball, that's just sometimes the way it works. Out on the beach, it's just not possible. You're always involved. You're always communicating. You always have some type of role out there. So that becomes very exciting for certain indoor players. So I enjoy getting them from indoor, and then we try to corral some of that energy and put a little bit of a framework around it, and it becomes very fun to watch them develop. So the games, they do differ, but it's volleyball, and the biggest challenge is the mental side of things. I think that's where the timing and rhythm of the sport for beach are a little bit different than indoor. So I think a lot of players maybe struggle with that, or it's just different. But at the end of the day, for our programs, Joy and Matt and Sabrina, they do a great job with the indoor team training them. So they're great all-around volleyball players. And then I'm able to add that layer of the mental strategy of beach volleyball. And we're able to make these athletes, these indoor combination athletes, pretty strong out there.
So, Coach, you mentioned that summer is obviously a big hotbed for beach volleyball. And as we turn the page, we're halfway through May at this point, hard to believe. We're moving into the summer. What are you doing to keep your athletes involved, keep them in shape, and then try to keep their minds going through finals now and then through the summer before they come back, hopefully this fall?
Yeah, so we for when we got stopped in March through the first week of May when we were allowed to have meetings. We were meeting twice a week and going through. We had the team, each class, freshman, sophomore, junior, etc. They all read a book and gave presentations on it. So we definitely built, I think, the mental side of that training. In-person learning on the court is a little bit different than sitting at home reading a book. However, we still tried our best and tried to make the best of that scenario, and I think we were successful. So mentally, we all have a really good idea of kind of when we come back, and if we're lucky enough to resume, I would hope to see a lot more mental confidence and mental strength and understanding themselves a little bit better. I thought that was a really important lesson for them this year, and I thought we would have gotten that through our experience in matches. Whether we win or lost, we would have built that. So instead, we read these books, and there were some great presentations the student athletes gave. So that was one piece of it. Now, the physical aspect, I think, like I said in the beginning, this has been a very unique time for some of these athletes because we pushed so hard in January and February to get prepped for about a 8-week season where we have to play 30 matches in 8 weeks. It's an average of 4 matches a week. And then if you make the playoffs into May, you're playing even more. Oftentimes you're playing 3 matches in a day. So physically, these kids are being put to the test every single day. Our practices in the sand, I mean, they're difficult. We do conditioning 5 days a week. And so I think it's nice that now they have that moment to just work on some of those little aches and pains and iron out those little areas so that when they do get to resume, that sore shoulder, after 1 day, maybe it's 3 days, and then it gets sore. So they're able to strengthen little joints and nagging injuries. Our strength and conditioning coaches have done a great job with at-home workouts for these girls. And so I know that they're sticking to those. I never really worry too much. The team is really disciplined. They appreciate working out. They understand how important it is to our program and in our sport. And so they do a great job staying in shape. And so, yeah, with halfway through May, typically, once they're done with finals here, they get right out there and start playing on the AVP tour on P1440. So unfortunately, they're going to have to wait to do that. But I think there'll be some opportunity down the road for them to compete prior to when we report back in August. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hopefully some tournaments open up. But we're seeing in other states, at the junior level at least, that there's some tournaments going on, and hopefully they have good results and the data, the COVID cases and deaths stay, if not decrease, and then maybe we can start allowing our tournaments to resume.
Coach, before we let you go here, we'll give you one chance to talk to Beach Nation and give your speech on getting people out. It's a great sport. It's a lot of fun. It's so just give you the open floor here, open mic.
Yeah, absolutely. LB Nation, you guys got to come check us out. If not us, just check out the sport. It's really exciting. I think collegiately, it's one of the most exciting sports to watch. You don't even really need to know what's going on. You can just sense and feel the energy is so tangible. It's a really laid back environment. You get to come right up to the action, music going, MC. It's a really fun environment. Like I said, if the AVP tour is able to resume, those tournaments are a great example of kind of the direction I think the college tournaments and the NCAA tournament is moving in that direction. So we would love to see you guys out there. We're thankful for all of you and your support. It means a lot to the student athletes. It means a lot to me. Every dollar you guys give, every amount of time you invest into our programs, it allows me to go out there and do what I love, which is coach and mentor and be a part of this program and this university. And so I thank you for all of your help and support.
Got to echo Coach's sentiments there. Beach volleyball is an incredible atmosphere. It's not like other NCAA sports where there's quiet during the matches. Yeah. There's always something going on. It's a great environment. So, Coach, we thank you for being here, and we hope to see you guys on the sand soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Camden. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.